Darkness is your ally. You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it.
What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to second vlog for February. As you guys know by now, as I've shared, and I've got no issue sharing again, we did pull out of the season. A lot of issues, a lot of reasons to that that I've already gone through previously by the time this probably comes out. I did a full vlog piece on it, content on the Instagram, so go have a look if you're curious. It is not the ideal situation, it's not where we want it to be. Doesn't mean I stop competing, doesn't mean I stop bodybuilding. I just reassess the plan, reassess what I do next, start weighing up some life variables and things like that, and look at what the next plan is. And I'll go through that when it happens. Right now, plan is to go through, finish off this diet break. From there, I'll start my own cut phase again on my own. I'll just get to about 2 to 4 weeks out from stage. So I really need to get my body to a place of condition before I grow again, just so I don't continue to grow in the fat areas that are still fat. For me, those trouble areas have always been trouble. I need to get rid of them. So rather than letting the fat build back up, I've got to take care of those, get them lean, and then add some more tissue again before I get back on stage. So that'll all be stuff that I work out and how I work that out and who I work that out with. And we'll go through that in time. Today is, so this is the second week of my own programming. Today is a pull day. So we have quality of sleep was an 8. Energy levels 7, a little bit tired. Soreness, better this week. So one of the things that I've mentioned is I'm doing everything for myself through the Matter app. So making sure that I experience the same systems and settings that we give our clients. All right, so for today, I've got a few more priming exercises to go through. We've got a top set back off of wide grip lat pull down, single arm cable rows, cable rear delts, rear delt extensions, and then some tricep work. So a lot of pull variation and then a little bit of tricep work. I find that for me, too much back work and then biceps usually leads to me fatiguing my arms, but not in a good way. I'm usually then limited by my brachioradialis, my forearm, so I try to do differential muscles on my push-pull days. So pull day, we'll get into this. We've got a bunch of questions to go through, probably some questions around pulling out, things like that, and why my pull-out game is so strong, and we'll go through that when it happens. So let's go. All right, so questions are going to be around comp, season, pulling out, the mental side of that sort of thing. People had questions about that so far on Instagram. What was the hardest part about deciding to pull out from prep? For me, I don't know, a few people have said like pulling out's not the same as quitting or failure, except things like that, but for me, in my competitive career and actually most of my sporting career, I've never quit something that I started to complete unless it was absolutely outside my control. So making the decision to pull out of the season because I know that I wasn't going to be in the best chance to win, in the best condition possible, in the time frame that we had, in a way that I could still live up to the standards I execute, it was definitely hard because I'd been so on point. So there absolutely wasn't a thing that I missed. I missed like one training session due to sickness in the entire 14 weeks. So I know that in my end, I did everything that I had the power to do. It just kind of wasn't mapping out well. It wasn't really planning out the way the plan intended. So for me, knowing that this was the best season that I had ever executed, and still having to pull out, that was definitely something that was hard for me to mentally sit with and accept the fact that the best decision to make was to probably pull out, because it wasn't going to be pretty in terms of what I had to do to get there, and if I got there even in the end anyway. So yeah, for me that was like weighing all those things up, knowing it was the best season that I'd put in, but wasn't a season that was going to eventuate on stage, was probably the hardest part. And trying to convince myself that it wasn't quitting, that was the better decision to pull out. That was probably the hardest parts in making that decision. So I run a top set back off strategy, probably for the remainder of this cut phase, or diet break and cut phase. Just sparing the joints and recovery as much as possible while still driving up some volume. So top set will always be your primary working set, max intensity. And then back off is I usually pull down about 30% in load, anywhere from 25 to 30% in load, or close to on a cable, and usually aim for about 10 reps. So the reduction in load, but also still getting high enough volume stimulus, joint protective, fatigue management, and still able to get a decent stimulus out of the set. So we'll start with the top set.
Give me the loot. Might lose some battles, but winning the war. I get knocked down, I get back up, get up and go, I stay ready for more. Go toe to toe till I level the score. Never gon' quit. Heard you seen some, but you never seen this. Bet on myself 8 times, no trick, trust. Give me the loot.
Have you struggled with the decision mentally since having to stop? I don't think I've struggled per se. I think once it clicked in my head, I knew it was the right decision. I actually found there were some days there where my look actually improved. Once I had some refeeds, put some food back in, took myself up to a diet break of calories. So I was on 220, I think, for the last sort of fortnight, 220 carbs. I took myself up to 420 and found like the stress and fatigue reduction definitely helped my look. So it was a good indication there's a lot of stress there. The body was definitely holding some fatigue, a lot of fatigue. So I think once I come to terms with the decision, it was a lot easier to accept it. It was making the decision that was harder. Because like obviously for me, once you're switched on in prep mode, it's really like all there is to focus on. When it's making the decision to stop, it'd be very hard for me to get myself back in that position to go again after having a few days off, diet break and that sort of thing. So once I'd made the decision, there was no real hesitation. It just then became that I just switched to focusing back on clients, company and study. So yeah, here's what it is. We'll just reassess and make there's always gonna be a show. There's always gonna be a plan. You know, I'm a 3 to 5 year plan guy, so for me, we just reassess that 3 to 5 year plan and extend it out. So it is what it is. Once I made the decision, it was pretty straightforward. The more that I had some stress reduction and refeeds and increased calories, the more I knew it was the right choice. What advice would you give a client or athlete that was in your position? Look, you've got to weigh up, is the outcome you are going to produce, the results you're going to produce, in line and align with what you want? And not only are you going to get there, but look at how you're going to get there. Does it align with the strategies that you believe in? Does it align with the way that you want to live? It's one thing to grunt and cuss your way through a prep. I've done that. But I've also had very supportive people around me that understood and were encouraging. The result was matching pace with the effort that was being put in. So all those things start to weigh up. So you got to look at, as much as it's a subjective sport, you got to look at the objective facts that are happening, and also start to weigh up internally for yourself. Is the outcome going to be, is the juice going to be worth a squeeze in the end? There's always going to be another show, there's always going to be another season. You know, no bodybuilding show or prep is ever going to be easy. That I want people to understand. That was not the complaint that I had. It was not, I guess, the reasoning for pulling out that I had. It was more so what it was going to take to get there in the position that I was in, what I had left to go, that I wasn't going to be content with. Obviously, it just means that a lot of philosophy changes I'm probably going to have into my next season, or weighing up my next data point. But yeah, as an advice point, you have to be willing to weigh these things up and just understand you don't have to get on stage this time. If getting on stage this time means you produce a worse look, or a look you aren't satisfied with, or you know wasn't going to be your best, or was going to cost you a lot to get there, you start weighing up, does the ends justify the means? And yeah, like I said, you know, preps will be hard, they will be hungry, they will be tiring, but that doesn't equate to a satisfied result. That's kind of like the bare minimum, but it's how you control that matters. So looking at those things and actually assess, is the season you're going through worth what you're doing? I've asked that question to all my clients when it starts getting really hard. What's to come is going to be X, Y, Z. Are you willing to put that in? Do you want to put that in? Have you prepared your family and friends for that? And if the answer is no, respectfully, that's the answer, it's okay. If you say yes and you get into it and change your mind, also say no, it's fine. But being aware of that, I think, is really important. You don't want to ruin your life just to get a plastic trophy, especially when there's always going to be another chance to compete. You over the years, or from this prep, and why? Yeah, I think a big one for me is, not a big one, but it's definitely something I've come to terms with, even for myself, is as much as you have data points, you really have to look at the individual and what that individual requires. As much as you have textbook data, we have textbooks, we have theories and principles, you need to look at how those principles apply to your population, and inside that population, your individual data set. So for me, consistent preps now, consistent aggressive diet phases, I've seen a midpoint slow rate where look might be changing, body weight doesn't change much, it's always like the stress holds, but also the look isn't drastically following suit for a fair period of time. Now what likely is going on is, like, there is body composition change, but the stress and inflammation of it all is holding some weight, digestion's slowing, because obviously we know that energy is required to improve or use the metabolic systems. So that slowed down rate there, the increased stress, does decrease metabolic functionality, or your metabolism, your digestive pathway. But also, likelihood is I seem to accrue what would be like large amounts of visceral fat, internal fat, organ fat. And that does have to come off as well. It's not just external or subcutaneous fat that comes away from a prep. So for me, it might mean that my off seasons now have to stay tighter. Might be slower acquirements of mass, but it'll mean that mass is cleaner, for lack of better words, tighter, and there's a lot less to pull off in a prep, and gives me a greater amount of energy to run into a prep with. So several times I have to be very aggressive with my seasons, and it didn't always land the best. So not land the best, but it wasn't optimal. So for me, rather than pushing that drastic off season, you know, this next year or 18 months off, depending on when I go again, I might only push up to 100 kilos, but I'll stay at that 10% mark, which is why I've got to get lean again before I go back to growing. So, you know, I might finish this maintenance block, diet for another 8 weeks, and then look at reversing out and focus on getting lean, staying leaner in amongst that while growing. So next time, the plan for me, no matter what, is to really cap out under 90s. Might only mean an extra 2 kilos, because I'm already at that pretty top end, but the 2 kilos in the right places whilst being leaner elsewhere, it makes a big difference. So yeah, for me, it's understanding that individually, you know, people might not need as many calories as I used to think, or might not need as much of a bulk growth calories as I used to think. And even some clients do, but it's in comparison to how lean they are and their composition, not just because they need more food. So yeah, it's definitely something that I've changed my mind on. And even an example of myself has been to reflect on that and just say, hey, I might be one of those people that I don't get away with large amounts of food, and I'll require to stay tighter until I can build that calorie base up and larger amounts of muscle tissue where I might require more food. So yeah, it's something that I've definitely changed my mind on. What do you find is the biggest misconception people have about your sport / bodybuilding? I think for newbies, the misconception is that bodybuilding is going to change their life. Now, bodybuilding can be life-changing, but a lot of people get into sport thinking that bodybuilding is going to change their life. Meaning that if they avoid things, they run away from things, they use bodybuilding to cope, to hide, to peacock, glamorize themselves. And it's often done for the wrong reasons, which then leads to negative life change, though they originally start with perceiving that it's going to change their life for the better, or make them some big internet success, or they're going to put 1 million followers on Instagram because they did one show, become a coach all of a sudden because they've done one show. All these things that otherwise aren't true. Reality is bodybuilding is life-changing through the lessons that you learn from good coaches, from good support networks, from people that have been there before you, and the experiences along the way that you gain from it. Bodybuilding can change your life with those lessons, the teachings, the experience and exposure, provided that's the reason you're going into it. Looking at continual development through physical representation, but that usually requires a mental development to change as well. So yeah, for me, that's one of the biggest crucial mistakes or misconceptions people make or have, is that they think that bodybuilding is going to change their life, though itself, it is life-changing. And that can be positive or negative, depending on how you structure going into it. I think that makes all the difference.
This a risk take, this no mistake. I was born to do it. I was born for music, I just get into it. I can't get influence when I'm the influence. No genre music. We go rap back to pop, pop back to rap, country on the track. I was once broke, I was down bad, swear I'm never going back. I'm from upstate, where we see a little bit of this and some of that. Little city and some sticks. Watch me put it on the map, someone get attacked. If you're not first, you're last. Life is a race, don't you lag. I get a bag and I stack. The reason I tax was not cause they needed me. Got all of mine equally. I see what they need from me. Blood, sweat, and tears from the frequency. Now you believe in me.
Data-driven coaching, an application of intuition or intangibles. Well, one of the misconceptions people have is that subjective data isn't data. Or they're like, qualitative data isn't the same as quantitative. And they're not, they're different data sets for sure, but you can still use that data to drive decisions. This is where people get so caught up in the X's and O's of coaching and thinking like, in bodybuilding, sets and reps is all that matters. Any good coach it, like you look at NFL, rugby league, soccer, it doesn't matter. The individual assessment of a player, you're also using their body language, subjective cues, feedback points, qualitative questionnaires, just qualitative engagement, just asking questions of your athletes. And you'll start to realize that that also drives decisions. Some athletes understand nothing but go. And so you have to look at asking the right questions to know that you're getting the most out of them, because sometimes that means knowing how to pull them back so they can go further, longer, later. So for me, a large part of coaching is not just asking or setting sets and reps and macros and being like, well, you didn't hit it, you're a piece of shit. It's also understanding them as a whole and where they fit in the vacuum of their life, because we know that vacuum isn't in isolation. We know that realistically it's not a vacuum. They exist as a very collective system in and amongst complex systems, and we need to understand how they operate, what goes on. So using only numbers to drive data is a false interpretation of what coaching is. Yes, data drives decisions, but asking intangibles, asking about qualitative metrics also helps govern those decisions. Someone may say their recovery is a 5 out of 5, but then also you're starting to recognize the motivation's dipping, energy is low, lethargy is high, and their numbers aren't progressing. Starting to indicate to you that recovery is not as good as they thought, and they might require a deload. So you got to know how to ask these questions and pair the data together. It's like the Matrix. You don't just get numbers on a screen, the screen is painting a picture for the guys that read the code. That's kind of what a coach's job is. Read between the lines, paint the picture, and see what's happening. Biggest mistake first timers make in their first prep. One of the biggest mistakes that I see from first timers is they don't respect how hard genuine bodybuilding is and think they can just start a prep 20 weeks out with a coach and have no experience of being coached before. Even if you're to play another sport at an amateur level, there is still pre-season, there is still making the team, there is still tryouts. Thinking that you're just going to jump in, start a prep with no history of competitive bodybuilding or physique development is one of the worst first time mistakes I see. I still see advanced guys make this mistake too, but a lot of first timers just simply rush to competing because it's the thing they have to do. I want to try it out. You don't just try out Formula One racing. You don't just try out the NRL. You know, these things, you develop an acumen, a skill, a proficiency to training, nutrition, lifestyle management, conscientiousness, task orientation. These are skills and traits that are developed over time. And everyone just kind of, not everyone, a lot of people start to think that it's just going to be, I get to do it straight away and I don't need to spend time with the coach. A coach isn't magic. We still need to take time to figure you out and understand you as an individual. And that can take time, especially if you've never competed before, never dieted before, never trained this hard before. If you don't understand it, then us just pointing and clicking doesn't always mean it'll get done or done the right way. And then we usually have to fix the mistakes, or it's the coach's fault that something went wrong. The reality is you didn't show the sport the respect it deserves and give it the time that it needs. I've had people wait years to compete, and when they did, executed a much better prep and result than if we rushed to competing. So yeah, I think there's giving yourself more time, but also respecting the sport and understanding that it will take more than you think it will. It will require working with someone longer than you think, and be willing to invest in a coach longer than you expect, because it will result in a better prep. Shortchanging the prep or cheapening the prep by not paying the coach for a long enough time because you think it's going to save money is usually going to cost you in the back end when you have to pay someone to fix you up afterwards anyway. So just definitely a thought to think about if you're a first-time competitor, thinking about competing, want to get on stage eventually, is earn the right to be up there by taking time to do it properly with the right coach. I don't care if that's me. Just take my advice right now and go to whoever serves you best and understand it in equal time. Is recovery and the reverse out the same now as it would be after a prep? Seems you pulled out. Nah, so this is a little bit different. So because I'm technically not done dieting, I'm not satisfied yet. I'm not as worried about getting blood work done for health parameters. I'm not worried about getting my appetite back to a certain point. What I need to do over those 4 weeks that I'll be diet breaking is essentially reducing diet fatigue, reducing physical fatigue, mental fatigue. Like 14 weeks of aggressive food was very heavy and it did start to implicate things. So I'll offset that, a few extra free meals for now, stay in that sort of 98 to 96 range that I was in, not exceed that, try to keep body fat around the same level. And then what I'll do is I'll go back into the cut, albeit less aggressive. We'll see what the body can do with a more controlled approach. And then from that point, we'll assess how things are going. I'll probably diet for another 8 weeks after that, then reverse out from there, and then it'll basically be the same. So the plan is to get about anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks out from show in a very lean condition. So like, you know, get to the point where I'd start to test peak week strategies. Once I'm in that condition, I'll then reverse out gradually, keep tight. You know, I'm probably expecting to be around 90 to 92 kilos. I'll probably graduate up, get back to like 95, 96, see how I look there, very slowly. Maybe off season to 100, stay around that, and then pull back down for a prep. So again, it's just assessing weaknesses, what that time frame looks like. My head, next season A makes the most sense, so I'll stay tight for a decent period of time. Like if I start prep around here, next time I'll be very, very satisfied with bringing that look in. So that's probably the plan. So I don't have to dig as far. Like I'm not pulling 20 plus kilos off in a prep. Food doesn't have to bottom out. I start in a better position with a better time frame. So that'll be, you know, kind of what happens there. So it's not quite the same yet. The reverse protocol coming out will be once I finish dieting. But for now, realistically, this is just a diet break to get my mental fatigue up, reduced, and be able to push again to get that next level of lean. Had I kept going at the same rate, I would have fatigued and broke probably before I got there in that condition I need to be in. So it's just about mitigating those factors.
Guess I'm stuck in the past. First to your last, fast lane, chuck up the deuce when I pass. Give me the loot. Might lose some battles, but winning the war. I get knocked down, I get back up, get up and go. I stay ready for more. Go to the toe till I level the score.
Do prep athletes always need a coach, or can they coach themselves? Yeah, I mean, it's like anything. Can it be done? Sure. Is it optimal to do it that way? Probably not. I did 90% of my last prep outsourced to Aaron because I was simply at a point where I was like wanting to make less decisions, and I would just get too emotional. Like I wanted to go harder and keep going harder. Not always the best case. So having that third eye or that third party opinion, that unbiased opinion, the emotion-free opinion is definitely crucial to making the right decisions and choices. You're just simply in the midst of that aggression, tired, hungry, the focus mentality that comes in a prep. You just want to keep doing more, or perhaps pull up a bit sooner. Oh, I've stressed, I earned that deload or earned that diet break. It might be for the fact that you haven't, but mentally your body's trying to find a way to get food, so you're making those subconscious decisions. I've coached myself, I'll be coaching myself through the rest of the cut, making decisions accordingly, but I'll be doing my best to look at myself objectively, letting the data drive my decisions. It's my new 3D protocol that I call it. That is, the data always drives the decisions, or at least where possible, as much as possible. So it can be done. It's just a matter of, will you be unbiased, emotion-free, logical? In the depths of prep, probably not. So, the best have always turned to a coach and outsourced for that reason. At least giving them the chance to make the right calls and decisions, and then kind of alleviating some of that mental fatigue that comes with decision making from the athlete. So, yes, at a certain point for me, once I started questioning decisions, that's where I knew it was time to stop prep, because I was started to consider if I just made my own decisions, what I would do. And if that's the case, there is no point having a coach. There's no point prepping, because it's just me trying to rationalize doing certain things, and I wasn't in the right headspace for that. So yeah, I don't think it's impossible, but very hard to be logical about it. So is it worth it? Probably not. Alrighty guys, that is the end of upper day 2, first pull day of the week. Remember, coaching spots are available, books are open, preps are going now for the end of this year and the start of next year, not for the very next season. So make sure you are looking ahead for that, get in the books, book in your consult, let's have a conversation, see how we map that out. Remember, we have a bunch of free content going. Make sure you like, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're dropping comments, engage. We want to know what you want to see, what I can do more of, what you want to do less of, anything that I can give you guys more valuable insights or takeaways from. We will be continuing the vlog series for prep as Tom is still prepping, but also just because I'll be pushing my own cut and pushing the diet out. So make sure you are following along for those. We're going to keep the vlog series coming and give you guys behind the scenes look at how business operates, training, lifestyle, everything in between that gets me shredded, and make sure that's a part of the process and the visual as well. So yeah, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll go from there.